All right, I want to welcome everybody to Chaska Middle School East. We are so excited that it warmed up enough for us to host all of you tonight. I'm sure, like many of us, we were all very excited to get out of our houses tonight. And obviously, this is one of our favorite nights of the year. We've already been to Jonathan and Victoria, the counselors and myself, to meet our students from Jonathan and Victoria that are going to be joining us. So getting to see all of you and getting excited about what the next year brings is obviously just such a great night for us, and we look forward to everything that is to come with your students coming to us in 6th and 7th and 8th grade over the next couple of years. So I just want to introduce a couple people. I'm Beth Holm. I am the principal here. This is my 3rd year at East as a principal. I have been at East for about 10 years, so it is really home to me. I've just had lots of different positions and even moved my family so that my own daughter can come here someday. So it is really an amazing place with amazing staff that we are very proud of. Andrew Gilbert, our assistant principal, is right over there. We have Heather Rickard, our administrative dean. Also our counselors are in the back clicking through, Bridget Borner and Katie Sheehan. And they split our 6th grade, so depending upon your last name, your children may have either of those counselors. Also, Amy Scherenbrock is our personalized learning coach, who really helps us out a lot with decisions on Discover versus Endeavor, some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. So those are a couple people who are here tonight. We also have Pete Tornquist. Pete is a math teacher here at East. Andrew Waller is over there in the back, and he is teaching social studies in 6th grade. And we also have Anita Woodrow, a science teacher. So I want to have a huge thanks for all of the staff members here tonight. Obviously, with a snow day, they are in no way, shape, or form required to come to school today. So this was completely voluntary for them, and it is just that example after example of how great our teachers are and how much they give to our students and are always willing to go that extra mile. So a big thanks to them for coming. One of the ways that we make sure we get all of your questions answered tonight, I know it's probably not our biggest crowd we've ever had, but we usually have a lot of people on this evening, so we want to make sure that if you have questions, we can get them answered for you. So if you use your phone or any other device and go to menti.com and enter that code, you can put in questions that we will monitor over on our laptop over there and get answered throughout the evening. We may be able to blend them into the presentation, or we will have some question time at the end that we can answer those questions as well. So on each of our slides through the rest of the night, that code will be on the bottom left-hand corner, so you can find that to ask a question at any time. Yep. Okay. We're going to fix it so that it'll be updated on our presentation. All right, well, I'm going to keep going while Amy fixes that code for the Menti, and that's okay. So really what we wanted to share a little bit with you guys tonight is just about who we are at East and what can you expect from middle school with your children. So one of the things that really is paramount here at East is high expectations. And referring to high expectations in academics as well as our behavior and who we are to each other and how we treat one another. And really those high academic expectations are taught through making sure our learners are learning how to learn. We live in a world where obviously our students, our kids have information at their fingertips, so we need to make sure they have the skills and the dispositions in order to learn those things. When we talk about making learning meaningful, we want to make sure that what they're interested in and what their life is, how we teach them and what we teach them really relates to those things. If you look throughout our building, if you would walk around, you would see words all over talking about developing 21st century learners and leaders. When we make decisions around how to teach students, we're thinking about those skills on the corner there. Talking about collaboration, problem solving, how do we make sure our kids become the leaders that we want them to be? So those are really important pieces about the decisions that we make and how we teach your kids. When we think about that transition from elementary to middle school, I know that when I think about my own daughter's experience at Jonathan, the first thing I think about is her teachers. And I think about how much they love elementary students. And that is no different here at East. When I go to meet new people, when they ask me, what do you do? I'm very proud to tell them I'm a middle school principal, or I'm an educator at a middle school. And often the reaction I get is, ooh, middle school. But truly, every staff member who walks through these doors loves that age group for all the great things that come from our middle school learners. So that will be the same from what you've experienced at your elementary buildings, is that our teachers are here, everyone that walks through the door is here to make sure that your kids are feeling safe and are learning. Along with that, the safe school environment. Obviously, we know that the relationships we build with students are the reason that they are able to learn during the school day. So it is really the number one thing that we do is right away building those relationships with your kids so that they feel comfortable here and have adults in the building who they can come to if they feel they have a need. So that is very important to us at East also. Another thing that will really be the same is that connection with an advisor. Obviously at elementary you think of it more as your homeroom teacher, but we do have advisory 4 days out of the 5 during the week where they will check in with that same person and connect about, the schedule and what's going on in our building and those types of things in advisory. Obviously, the core subjects will be the same. Math, language arts, social studies, and science are those 4 core subjects that they're still going to continue to get. And the one thing that people always talk about when they come to a new school is their lunch. How do I get lunch? So it's always reassuring to know that as they walk in the door, they're going to have that same lunch pin number that they had in elementary and that consistency for them there. Some of the things that will be different about middle school that can sometimes cause some anxiety, if you look around our commons here, you'll see all the lockers. Obviously, that's a new thing for students. It is definitely something that can cause some worries for those new 6th graders, but something we give a lot of support to help them out with. As well as they're going to have a lot more teachers than they typically have had in an elementary building. So they're going to see more teachers throughout their day, have more transitions throughout their day. One of the transitions is that we will no longer have recess. So this area here is also our lunchroom. So we don't have a playground for them to go out to, and I'm sure on days like this week, it's probably a positive. They don't want to go out quite as much when it's this cold. But also some things that are going to change is that we do have 2+ elementary buildings coming together. Our feeder buildings from the district are Jonathan and Victoria Elementary. Obviously, most of you are probably coming from there. But we do have quite a few students due to moves or different transportation needs that come from multiple other buildings. I think currently, I already saw that there's students registered from 4 other buildings within district. And typically over the summer, 6th grade is a pretty big transition year for us. We get a lot of students that maybe, move into the district or come from a private school. So our enrollment usually increases about 20 over the summer with a lot of those new students. So if you are one of those new students, feel assured that everybody will feel new in the same manner too. And with that, sometimes students' friendships groups really change when they come to middle school. They meet new people who are, maybe went to Jonathan and they were at Victoria and they have similar interests who they haven't met before. So it's a really exciting time and also kind of a nerve-wracking time. One of the things we'll talk about later is Deep Portage and how that opportunity for our students to be able to get to know each other and build those relationships is a really positive thing about 6th grade too. And obviously the different lunch choices and options, we have 3 different lines for lunch, so it adds a little bit of variety to students' days also. And our start and end times are a little bit different. I know now we're the same as Jonathan, it's just that we are 20 minutes longer than school at Jonathan, but there'll be a little earlier start time for our Victoria students. And really thinking about what can you expect to see in your students or your kids as they join middle school and go through those transitions. Obviously, it's a huge transitional time for students physically as they grow and change and really can sometimes cause some worries for kids too as those things happen. So that's one thing to watch out for. Also, that social and emotional change is a huge change during middle school. really what I think about for social and emotional needs for our middle school learners is really that need for independence and really their peers driving a lot of the decisions that they make, and it just becomes even more important to them who their peers are and what their peers are thinking. So that's a really important piece also to keep tabs on. And that last one really talks about really that beginning to really have a better understanding of what's going on in our world and wanting to figure out who they are and where do they fit in that world. So those are really those big social and emotional changes. And academically, because of that change of really questioning some of the things, they're going to ask a lot of questions. They want to learn more about things that apply to their life directly. And they really start moving to that more abstract thinking and using their problem-solving skills to learn and grow as those things happen. One of the things that I've heard from parents over the years is that obviously parenting is kind of like a roller coaster. And one of the things that a parent shared with me is in elementary school, you're really riding next to your child on that roller coaster. You're with them for the ups and downs along every spot along the way. And in middle school, it's kind of that time to pull back and be watching them ride with their friends on the roller coaster. You're still there to wave and to encourage and to help them out when things don't go well, but to really have that time to be a little bit more removed from their everyday activities. And I think it's a perfect example of what we go through as parents as they make that transition. So thinking about what you can do as parents of middle school students, and I always say one of the most important things that you can do is know who your child's friends are and make sure you know their parents so that you can be checking in with them consistently, as well as making sure you're monitoring those phones and other social media that they are using to know what's going on and how you can support them through those pieces also. And of course, some of the biggest pieces is just to listen to them, be there for them, and validate the feelings that they're having as these changes go. I'm sure many of your kids have told you they're excited, they're nervous, all those feelings are coming through about middle school, and just making sure that you're supporting them through those tough times is really important. And obviously we'll be here to do that at school for them too. So with that, I'm going to have Andrew Gilbert take over and talk a little bit about the class offerings. Most of your children have probably already seen some of this information through our registration times with our counselors.